Okay, this is Lauren Burke. This is Lauren Live. As everybody probably has seen, Nick Reiner had his first court appearance today. An arraignment was supposed to have more than what happened today was supposed to happen. It was rescheduled for January 7. And I was just sort of casually, I'm really covering congressional politics, but I could not help to notice a few of the remarks from the attorney of Nick Reiner, who got out there. Usually with these things, you don't hear anything. You don't hear any comment from the attorney. And it's probably a really good reason for that, particularly if your client is up for a double homicide, an outrageous double homicide of a person that many people liked very much, in what would seem to be a completely senseless situation. But let's just listen to a little bit of this because I think it was interesting in my view with regard to what we did not hear from that attorney.
Requesting that your arraignment be continued to January 7, 2026. Do you waive your right to a speedy arraignment so that your arraignment can be heard on January 7, 2026? And does counsel join in the waiver?
I join, Your
The
Honor.
court finds that the defendant has made a knowing and intelligent waiver.
Now, there was a camera shot here. It's sort of interesting.
Mr. Reiner, do you have a constitutional and statutory right to a speedy arraignment? Your counsel.
He's actually behind this woman in the brown jacket.
Mr. Reiner, do you have a
So she turns around and she's actually blocking the camera's view of Reiner, who's actually directly behind her.
constitutional and statutory right to a speedy arraignment? Your counsel is requesting that your arraignment be continued to January 7.
And then the camera goes to the judge, and we don't see him. We don't actually see him in any of these shots, which is crazy because, you know, this is Los Angeles where you would think that a good camera shot would be something people would know how to do. But the way that those people were standing there, they were actually blocking a shot of Nick Reiner.
And that is counsel joins in that waiver. Matter set January 7, 2026 for arraignment in this department. Bail to stand at no bail.
And this is his attorney.
Anything further on that case?
Not by the defense, Your Honor.
Anything further?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Nick Reiner's attorney, Alan Jackson, was speaking to reporters just
And this is the part that I found interesting.
moments ago.
Just have a couple of quick words. First of all, and most importantly, this is a devastating tragedy that has befallen the Reiner family. We all recognize that. Our hearts go out to the entire Reiner family. There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. These need to be thoroughly, but very carefully dealt with and examined and looked at and analyzed. We ask that during this process, you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the
Let's hear that again. Let's hear all this again. I'm a big due process fan, but let's hear this.
And most importantly, this is a devastating tragedy that has befallen the Reiner family. We all recognize that. Our hearts go out to the entire Reiner family. There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. These need to be thoroughly, but very carefully dealt with and examined and looked at and analyzed. We ask that during this process, you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves.
Now, ordinarily, I would be all in favor of this idea of restraint and due process. And he actually didn't say the word due process, but he said, you know, let's not rush to judgment. Let's not do this, but let's understand something. We've got evidence in this case. There's evidence that has been referred to in many of the reports, and it's pretty hard evidence. Okay, it's pretty hard evidence. It's pretty substantial, you know. When you're reading that someone checks into a hotel room at 4 a.m. and someone who is the maid service for that hotel finds blood all over the place in the room. That's pretty substantial evidence. So you're not just off the top of your head coming up with something and assuming that Nick Reiner did it. That's not what's happening here. Let's just listen to the last clip of Alan Jackson.
So with that, we're set for January 7th for an arraignment. That's the next court date. And that's all I have to say at this point. There may be more at some other point, but today we're going to rest on where we stand procedurally, which is this was a continuance of an arraignment. Nothing happened today substantively. We'll be back for an arraignment in the same department on the 7th of January. We'll see you then.
So now, all of that stuff that he says, we need to carefully analyze what's going on here. We need to carefully consider, effectively all the facts. Did anybody hear what he didn't say in there? What he didn't say was that his client was innocent. What he didn't say was that, man, you got the wrong man. You're going to find out that this is all a big misunderstanding. What he didn't say was, my client should be let out right now. I can't believe that bail was revoked. Remember, the bail was at $4 million, and then all of a sudden there was no bail. You didn't hear any of that. You know why I didn't hear any of that? Because he knows damn well that this is probably a wrap. I mean, are you kidding me, man? And not to say, his job as a defense attorney is to present a case in that courtroom of defense for his client. Bottom line, that is his job. And in fact, he could get into trouble with his law license if he doesn't do that. And he certainly could get in trouble with his law license if he does anything to hurt his client. So he's got to sort of say something, right? Although he actually doesn't have to say something. He could have said absolutely nothing. He could have walked out of that courtroom, made no comment, gotten into the SUV and drove off, which is typically what attorneys do. And particularly in a case like this, it's going to have a massive, massive amount of public attention. But there was nothing in what he said, not even in a offhanded way. There was nothing that he said that indicated, oh, by the way, you guys have the wrong guy. My client is innocent. Nothing, not a word, not one word. Remember, the attorneys in these cases, a lot of times, they can say anything they want. Client can't say anything they want. The attorney can say almost anything. And there was none of that. Can't imagine why. I mean, I tell you what, I've never seen the reaction. I mean, we haven't seen a reaction like this to somebody's death in a long time. And that's because everybody understands it has, particularly folks out there that have kids that have had some challenges one way or the other. I mean, when you are in the same household, apparently Nick Reiner was living, it was reported, I think, by People magazine, he was living, or by the Los Angeles Times, that he was living in the guest house, the Reiner's guest house. So he was in close proximity at 32 years old to his parents. And then you have the daughter, remember, Rob Reiner has 4 kids. He has an adopted daughter with Penny Marshall, his first wife. Then he has 3 kids. He has 2 sons and 2 daughters. One of the daughters made this discovery hours before the Reiners were to have dinner, interestingly enough, with Barack Obama and Michele Obama and some other folks. All of that is incredibly, incredibly depressing, incredibly terrible. You can't imagine a worse scenario. I mean, I can't imagine a worse scenario. That your daughter finds the bodies of her parents, and not that this is the most important thing in the world, but it did occur to me, as somebody now has been associated with 3 family homes, if something like that happened in one of the family homes, we'd have to sell the house because those memories will be there forever. And the only way to break that memory is to get rid of the house. I mean, it is a huge tragedy that I think everybody can certainly relate to on so many levels. Should never have happened in a million years. And by all accounts, Rob Reiner was not just a much loved guy, but in fact was really doing whatever he could to assist his son for many years, 15, 16, 17 years. Apparently, this started when Nick Reiner was 15 years old. They even did a movie together depicting some of this. I mean, so, this is going to be a story of a father trying to help his son to the very end. Whatever narrative Alan Jackson thinks he's going to come up with, some sort of Menendez brothers type scenario where, oh my God, they were doing something and that's what caused all this. Baby, that ain't gonna work. They may as well just go right for the insanity defense or something like that. He does, of course, have a history of mental illness. So if he's got a history of mental illness and addiction, that's probably what they're going to try to bring out here. But man, when you don't even get out there and try to claim that your client might be innocent, I mean, you're not even saying anything close to that. That to me, I think you probably would have been better off saying absolutely nothing. You know, all this stuff about, oh, it's complicated and there are going to be some issues that we're going to have to, dig out, and we're going to have to think about it, and let's go over a few things. Nobody is going to buy that. Nobody. And particularly given the nature of the details that we're finding out about, which I have a terrible feeling we're going to find out even more crazy ass details.
Tragedy that has befallen the Reiner family. We all recognize that. Our hearts go out to the entire Reiner family. There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case.
Complex and serious issues. Yeah, I'll say the first complex and serious issue is that two people are gone that should be here right now, that were taken away violently in their own home. And not only that, less than 15 days before Christmas. A terrible, I mean, this is something that, I mean, I see people online and I feel it. I feel I'm channeling some of their feelings. I didn't have particularly strong feelings about Rob Reiner one way or the other. He certainly struck me as a incredibly well accomplished director. I mean, a few good men alone. You didn't have to even do, when Mary when Harry Met Sally, or This Is Spinal Tap. Just a few good men. Just a few good men. That one directing accomplishment to me was huge. It wasn't a particularly complicated movie. It didn't require hugely complicated direction per se, although I think that last scene with Jack Nicholson and all of that back and forth, which apparently Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise had to run many, many times to get right, of course, get all the shots right and everything else. That's incredible. It's incredible to know that Jack Nicholson only spent 10 days on the set. You got all that in 10 days. Incredible. You got to be organized for that. You got to know what you're doing for that. And I would say that this thing, and when you see his friends talk about him and everything else, Alan Jackson better hire a really good PR team. A really good PR team, because if he thinks he's going to roll out some sort of sympathy campaign about the so-called complex issues that we're dealing with, I would be very careful, because behind all of the sadness that people are having who are friends of Rob Reiner is going to be anger. And it's going to be anger every time they can't pick the phone up and talk to him. It's certainly going to be anger at the funeral. You have a double homicide. So is it two funerals? Are they going to do it all at once? I suspect they'll do it all at once, because it's terrible to have to do two funerals back to back. And that's incredibly sad. I mean, he's got kids that are under 30 years old. One of the daughters is under 30 years old. And his son, who he was probably helping out for over 15 years, and he's living amongst them. I mean, he can't get his act together enough to live someplace else, does this? I mean, I'm not, if in fact he's not the guy, we're not hearing it. We're not hearing anything from any quadrant of the Nick Reiner universe that you got the wrong guy. It's not him. This is all a big misunderstanding. You're not hearing any of that, not even from his attorney. You're also, interestingly enough, not hearing anything from, quote, Nick Reiner's friends. Does he have any friends? Do you see any comment? And I get it. His father is a huge figure in Hollywood and has been for some time. So he has all the friends, and obviously all the friends are commenting. The tragedy happened to Rob Reiner, not Nick Reiner. So I get that element of it. But if there was any misunderstanding or any complex issues that needed to be figured out here, you'd think that one of Nick Reiner's friends would have hit the camera by now, or social media, Instagram or Facebook, or any of the number of social media platforms that we have to say, wow, this could be a misunderstanding. You don't hear any of that. I haven't read that in one article. Now I'm skimming a little bit. I'm not, completely dialed in on this story, other than the fact that it's a huge and crazy and completely unspeakable tragedy that should not have happened. I'm not paying attention to everything, but I'm not seeing anybody from Nick Reiner's side, not even his siblings. Notice he's got 3 siblings. You don't hear one of them saying, well, wait a minute, that might not be our brother. You're not hearing that. In fact, there was one report that came out, I think it was TMZ, and you got to congratulate TMZ. TMZ is doing a really good job, and I'm not seeing any pushback about inaccuracy or inaccurate reporting. They seem to be right on the money. TMZ said that the first thing that the daughter thought was about her brother. I mean, I can't imagine that. If I can't imagine being in any of these situations. It's a huge tragedy and a huge terrible thing for anybody to go through. I don't care how much money you've got, what you do for a living, what your job is, or anything else. This is something that is on another level in terms of how you move and how you deal with it moving forward. I can't imagine how that family moves forward. The grandkids, the kids, the grandkids, the nieces, the nephews, everybody. It's a terrible, terrible thing. And if I was Alan Jackson, I think I probably would have said absolutely nothing. I mean, I just think that little moment in there about the complexities that are going to come out, man, you better bring it hard. If you think, on January 7, when they come back for the arraignment, there better be an explanation for that. And I don't know what that explanation is going to be. But today is Wednesday, December 7. This happened on Saturday. We haven't heard one thing that would indicate that there was some big misunderstanding. So I'm not sure where he's going with that, but I would think he should get it together. I think they should throw themselves on the mercy of the court. I don't think they have the death penalty in California, but man, this case is going to linger with people. You can tell. You can also tell when you see something like what Donald Trump did. He comes out in typical Donald Trump fashion, says something negative about someone who is deceased very tragically. I mean, these people did not die in a car accident. They were taken. They were murdered. I mean, so viciously and violently murdered. And you want to talk about people who should probably say nothing, but he comes out, and you saw a number of conservatives. I mean, you generally never see this because they have a habit in their communication strategy of just going silent, not saying anything, and letting the thing ride out. That's not what happened. And when you get people like James Woods, I mean, James Woods is not a liberal progressive. He is a Trump fan. He is a MAGA fan. He is not accustomed to criticizing the president, nor is Eric Erickson. Eric Erickson? You got to be kidding me. I mean, when he came out and criticized what the president said, I said, wow, because it hits in a different way. It has nothing to do with politics. It's kind of the same thing, to some extent, like the Charlie Kirk thing, because of the violent nature of it. For somebody to die like that and in front of the camera, and the violence of it is shocking. I mean, it's the type of thing where, you would not wish that on anybody, anytime, any place. You may agree, disagree, whatever, but man, that is not cool. That is not all right. That is not normal. It's not civilized. And this is the type of thing that's going to be in the news for many months to come. Many, many months to come. This type of senseless murder of 2 people. And for what? And you can bet anything. I'm going to make a prediction before I go off here and say this. I'll bet anything that we're going to hear, probably from the siblings of Nick Reiner, that Rob Reiner and his wife were helping and assisting Nick Reiner with everything that Nick Reiner wanted. They probably at some point got sick of giving him money and probably cut that off. But still, when it comes to any sort of rehab or anything like that, I'll guarantee that that's what we're going to hear. We're going to hear that they were doing whatever they could with the resources that they have, which are considerable, to help Nick Reiner. And this is what happens. I can't wait to find out what the argument was about at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party, because at some point we're going to probably find out what that was. And you can bet that it's going to be something completely ridiculous and not important, but you never know. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing, of course. I don't know, but wow, just wow. I mean, this is a terrible, terrible story. One of the worst come along in a long time. Somebody mentioned to me the murder of Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was murdered by his father. I think that was in the 1990s. Yeah, that's up there with that. But we live in a different world in terms of media. We know too much. We find out too much. We're told too much. People are putting stuff on social media, putting it out there, throwing it out there, and it's really hard to hear the details of this story. I think even if you didn't hear the details, it'd be difficult. But the details in this one are particularly difficult. I'll be back at 9:00 with a live of, President Trump's going to go live at 9:00. I'm not sure why, but he is. At any rate, and I may have something a little later on the Brown investigation, which apparently is going nowhere. 2 people were murdered at Brown University, and they have no suspect. And I'm spoiled. My father was on the New York City Police Department. They caught people 20 minutes after stuff would happen. And yes, it would be the right person. But I don't know what's taking so long. I mean, it's a very strange thing. 2 people were murdered at a campus building, and they don't have anybody, and they don't seem to have, well, I can't say they don't seem to have anything. They do have some video of a person walking, so they do have that. But a murderer, a person who has perpetrated a double homicide is on the loose, and nobody's got anything on that. Then there was an MIT professor, which not that far away. I mean, Brown and MIT are not that far away from each other. He was shot dead at his house. So I don't know what's going on here, but at any rate, the Reiner thing is a terrible, terrible tragedy. God, you can't say enough about how jarring and terrible that must be for that family. And, I've never met Rob Reiner. I've been around a fair number of celebrities, never met Rob Reiner, but that is just terrible for them. Right before Christmas, during the Hanukkah season, and, gosh, I don't know how you find peace from that. I hope they do. Oh, man, this is Lauren Burke. This is Lauren Live, and I'll be back in a few hours.
Thank you. Are you watching now?
Yeah. No, I was watching on the left, but it's excellent. I love it. I love the traffic's blowing up. You were in Brooklyn last night. Where?
I was in Bushwick.
Okay, I have my grandmother's house in Crown Heights.
Oh, yeah.
So when I saw you, I was trying to look at what the pizza place was to see where
As soon as we got there, someone recognized the pizza place. They're like, we got to get out of here. Someone had
get out. It was great.
blown up our spot.
Their show was freaking fantastic.
Thank you.
Love it. Love it, man. Love it.